It is one of those faces from childhood that now, some years later, I can only see through a window in my memory that has become more than foggy, like a piece of glass covered in Vaseline. But I can see everything else. I can see his hair, drooping curls that will hang dirty in unending waves down his back. I remember his body is tall, though they tell me he wasn't tall, average height they say, and skinny too. A skeleton given skin to pull over bones, skin and bones, that was all. Over the years, I've given him a face, and for some reason, when I squeeze my eyes shut and I think Charlie, Charlie, two doors down Charlie, my mind twists him into a paper cut doll. First comes his body, dressed in ragtag clothes, and then his hair, and then Charles Manson's face always gets pasted in between the two. That is his face. Of course, I'm sure Two Doors Down Charlie doesn't or didn't look anything like Manson, but I think I just want to know more about these Charlies. Because what I do know, what I do picture Charlie as, is mostly what I've imagined. Everyone knew, everyone says Charlie was an alcoholic, and so he's become one, but he doesn't drink out of a glass. He drinks straight from the bottle. Old Crow or Jim Beam, and when the Flynns moved into Charlie's repossessed house after he was committed, they say they found inventions, scattered and started and finished throughout his basement, and I think that he smells like mildew or a decaying body, skin and bones. I imagine he runs around his yard naked, too, because my parents, taking me for a walk in our woods, covered my eyes one day when they found Charlie, drunk and naked, bathing in our leech-infested brook, and when they say this, I think of Jesus waiting for John the Baptist. No one remembers his last name. I want to thank this man for giving me a perfect day when I was 8 or 9 that started with a fuchsia alien spacecraft outside our front window. It was a Sunday. I called my mother to see. She called my father, and they both cocked their heads to the side like a cartoon couple and wondered what it was. I was sure the amorphous pink thing growing by the second across the street was an alien invasion, but my father told me to get my coat. We went across the street and found out when Charlie wasn't drinking Old Crow or playing Jesus in our backyard, he flew airplanes, helicopters, and hot air balloons. That is what it was. He had a student with him, and we stared and watched the balloon grow and grow, and my father was like a child who tugs on the sleeve of a policeman, asking question after question on what he does, why, how, where, and I hope Charlie said in some understated manner, "Want a lift?" or "Can I give you a ride somewhere?" I went into the balloon first, and now I say to my father jokingly, "I cannot believe you let me get into the hot air balloon with a loony drunk." But I can hear my father smile over the phone, and he says he was sober then. And you don't understand that he was brilliant. The guy could do anything. He went to MIT, worked for some laboratory, and was a genius flight instructor. It was January, and I remember being so cold and Charlie explaining to me exactly how hot air balloons worked and why we wouldn't fall from the sky. And I was smaller, so I rested my chin on the top of the basket as my father, along with the students' parents, chased us below in a car. I thought about how it was exactly like the end of Willy Wonka as my town drifted by. As I drifted over it all so peacefully, I remember the smokestack in my town looked just like a candy cigarette. Now I think the world must have seemed more like a playground. I was up in the air for hours and hours. It was all so colorful. I asked my father recently whether he ever spoke to Charlie again, after the balloon ride and before his family took him away. "I don't think so," he said. "He was such a strange character." I wonder what happens to those men like Charlie who drift in and out of lives, brilliant men and sad men. I would like to write him off as crazy because maybe he was. I didn't really know the man. But then I remember one moment when I turned around in the hot air balloon basket and Charlie looked at me. I can't remember his face, but I remember his arm as he pointed to the flame above us and said, "This is how we fly."